The theater had gone quiet, but the silence lingered far longer than the applause. A woman sat alone beneath the soft glow of a television, carrying a voice that had filled concert halls across America, yet burdened by struggles no audience could hear. Behind the elegance, the flawless performances, and the dazzling gowns was a life that had been tested by poverty, prejudice, heartbreak, and relentless expectations. Few people realized that one of the greatest voices in American music had once been a little girl who knew hunger better than comfort. Even fewer understood how the same determination that lifted her from the streets of Chicago would eventually demand more than any person should have been asked to give. Every standing ovation came with a hidden cost, and every triumph seemed to invite another battle waiting just beyond the spotlight. This was not simply the story of a legendary singer. It was the story of a woman who refused to let racism define her future, who inspired generations of artists, and who transformed the sound of American music while quietly carrying wounds that never truly healed. How did the girl who became the queen of the blues build an unforgettable legacy, only to leave the world at just 39 years old? The answer began long before the fame, the awards, and the unforgettable songs. Long before audiences crowned her the queen of the blues, she was simply Ruth Lee Jones, a little girl whose earliest memories were shaped by hardship rather than comfort. Born on August 29, 1924, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, she entered a world where opportunity was scarce for black families. When she was still a small child, her family joined the Great Migration, leaving the Deep South behind in search of safety and a better future in Chicago. The promise of the North, however, did not erase poverty. Growing up on Chicago's South Side during the Great Depression, she experienced crowded housing, empty cupboards, and neighborhoods where survival often came before dreams. Children teased her because of her appearance, calling her cruel names and making her feel like she did not belong. Those painful moments left invisible scars, but they also strengthened a determination that would follow her throughout her life. Music became the one place where judgment seemed to disappear. Her mother, a gifted church musician and choir director, introduced her to the piano at an early age and insisted on discipline before talent. Soon, the young girl was accompanying services at church, learning that every note carried meaning and every performance demanded sincerity. Before long, her remarkable singing voice began attracting attention throughout local congregations, and mother and daughter frequently performed together. As she grew older, another world began calling to her. Gospel music nourished her spirit, but jazz promised something her family desperately needed: a chance to escape poverty. Inspired by Billie Holiday, she quietly began performing secular music in neighborhood clubs without telling her mother, who believed such music belonged outside the church. At only 15, she won a local talent competition, confirming that her gift could open doors no classroom ever could. Determined to pursue music full-time, she left high school while still a teenager. Her first marriage, entered with hopes of finding stability and opportunity, quickly collapsed when conflicting expectations replaced youthful optimism. Rather than giving up, she continued singing wherever she could, earning modest pay while building a reputation that reached influential ears. One nightclub owner believed Ruth Lee Jones needed a stage name that audiences would never forget. It was then that she became Dinah Washington, a name that would soon echo through clubs across America. Her breakthrough arrived when legendary bandleader Lionel Hampton heard her perform and invited her to become the first female vocalist in his orchestra. Although she often faced discrimination, criticism, and isolation within the band, she refused to surrender. Every performance sharpened her confidence, every setback strengthened her resolve, and every night on stage carried her one step closer to becoming one of the most unforgettable voices in American music. Joining Lionel Hampton's orchestra marked the beginning of a new chapter, but success did not arrive without resistance. As the only female vocalist in the band, Dinah Washington found herself surrounded by musicians who often dismissed her because of her appearance and the color of her skin. In an era when lighter skin was frequently favored in the entertainment industry, she was expected to stay in the background. Instead, she allowed her voice to speak louder than every prejudice placed before her. Night after night, audiences waited for her final performance because Lionel Hampton understood something many others had not yet realized. Once Dinah stepped to the microphone, it became almost impossible for anyone performing afterward to leave the same impression. Her voice carried extraordinary precision, emotional depth, and crystal-clear diction. Every lyric felt personal, and every performance seemed less like a concert than a conversation between the singer and her audience. Eventually, she was ready to build a career on her own. After signing recording contracts that gave her greater creative freedom, Dinah Washington began releasing a series of blues and rhythm and blues recordings that steadily climbed the charts. Songs such as Baby Get Lost transformed her from a respected performer into a national sensation, while later recordings continued to strengthen her reputation as one of America's defining voices. The title Queen of the Blues was no longer simply a compliment. It became an acknowledgement of her unmatched influence on an entire generation of music. Her success reached far beyond record sales. Known as the Queen of the Jukebox, her songs filled restaurants, neighborhood cafes, dance halls, and homes across the country. At a time when jukeboxes shaped popular taste, hearing Dinah Washington's voice had become part of everyday American life. She proved that emotional honesty could resonate just as powerfully as technical brilliance. Fame also allowed her to lift others. She purchased a home for her mother, invested in real estate, and created places where Black entertainers could find safety during years when segregation limited where they could stay. Young musicians sought her advice, and many future legends benefited from her encouragement long before they became household names. Quincy Jones often credited Dinah Washington with giving him one of his earliest opportunities as a music arranger, a moment that helped launch one of the most celebrated careers in music history. She also recognized extraordinary talent in a young Aretha Franklin long before the rest of the world embraced her. By the end of the 1950s, Grammy recognition and the timeless success of What a Difference a Day Makes confirmed what audiences had already known for years. Dinah Washington was no longer simply an accomplished singer. She had become a cultural icon whose artistry, elegance, and determination permanently reshaped American music. Yet behind every standing ovation, the demands of fame were quietly becoming heavier than anyone could see. From the outside, Dinah Washington appeared to have everything an artist could dream of. She was selling records, filling theaters, influencing fashion, and earning the admiration of audiences across America. Yet behind the elegant dresses and confident smile was a woman fighting battles that rarely ended when the curtain fell. Her personal life became increasingly complicated. Marriage after marriage ended in disappointment, often leaving her emotionally exhausted and financially responsible for people who had promised to stand beside her. Some relationships turned abusive, while others were built on betrayal or exploitation. Despite her remarkable success, she repeatedly found herself searching for the stability that fame could never provide. The pressures of constant touring only intensified those struggles. Dinah performed night after night, traveling from one city to another with little opportunity to rest. Doctors urged her to slow down as exhaustion began affecting her voice, but she refused to disappoint audiences who had supported her for so many years. For her, every performance represented not only a career but also the responsibility of supporting family members, employees, and the people who depended on her success. At the same time, the music industry itself was changing. New sounds and younger performers were beginning to reshape popular music. Although Dinah Washington remained deeply respected, commercial success became harder to maintain. Record sales gradually declined, nightclub audiences shifted, and the pressure to remain relevant grew heavier with every passing year. Her greatest struggle, however, unfolded far away from the recording studio. Determined to manage her weight and maintain the glamorous image expected of a star, she relied increasingly on prescription medications. Diet pills promised energy. Sedatives promised sleep after long nights on the road. Other medications were prescribed to help her keep working through exhaustion. Combined with frequent alcohol consumption, those medications slowly created a dangerous cycle that few people fully understood at the time. Friends noticed the warning signs. She had collapsed on several occasions, suffered periods of physical weakness, and appeared increasingly overwhelmed by the demands placed upon her. Yet she continued moving forward, convinced that stopping meant letting others down. Like many performers of her era, she believed the show had to continue, regardless of the personal cost. In December 1963, after another exhausting period of work, Dinah Washington spent a quiet evening at home with her husband. They fell asleep while watching television, an ordinary moment that no one imagined would become her last. During the early hours of the morning, she was found unresponsive. Medical examinations later concluded that a combination of prescription barbiturates and alcohol had caused an accidental overdose. She was only 39 years old. The voice that had comforted millions was suddenly gone. The stage lights faded, the applause stopped, and America was left mourning not only an extraordinary singer, but also a woman whose greatest battles had remained hidden behind the spotlight. The news of Dinah Washington's passing spread quickly across the United States, leaving the music community in profound shock. More than 30,000 mourners gathered to pay their final respects, a remarkable farewell that reflected how deeply her voice had become woven into American culture. Fellow musicians, comedians, civil rights leaders, and longtime friends stood together to honor a woman whose influence had reached far beyond the recording studio. For many Americans, Dinah Washington represented more than musical excellence. She embodied resilience during one of the nation's most difficult chapters, succeeding despite segregation, discrimination, and countless barriers placed before Black artists. Her story became a reminder that extraordinary talent could challenge prejudice, even when society was slow to change. The years following her death only strengthened her reputation. Artists across multiple generations continued to record her songs, study her vocal phrasing, and acknowledge her influence. Aretha Franklin paid tribute through her music, while Quincy Jones often spoke about the pivotal role Dinah had played in his early career. Her recordings remained essential listening for anyone seeking to understand the evolution of blues, jazz, and rhythm and blues. Recognition continued long after her lifetime. Dinah Washington was inducted into prestigious halls of fame. Her classic recordings entered the Grammy Hall of Fame, and places connected to her life were renamed in her honor. Film, television, documentaries, and biographies introduced her story to new audiences who had never experienced her performances firsthand. Around the world, she came to symbolize something larger than fame. Dinah Washington proved that a powerful voice could outlive generations, that courage could resonate long after the final performance, and that true artistry was measured not only by awards or record sales, but by the lives forever changed through music. Some voices disappear the moment the music ends. Others continue to echo across generations, reminding us that true greatness is measured not by how long a life lasted, but by the lives it forever changed. Dinah Washington belonged to that rare group of artists whose influence could never be confined to a single era. She left behind far more than unforgettable recordings. She helped redefine what it meant to be a Black woman in American entertainment during a time when opportunity was limited and prejudice was woven into everyday life. Through determination, extraordinary talent, and unwavering confidence, Dinah Washington opened doors that countless artists would later walk through. Her music inspired legends, her mentorship shaped future stars, and her courage demonstrated that excellence could rise above even the harshest obstacles. Her story also carried an important reminder. Behind every standing ovation stood a human being with fears, disappointments, and burdens that fame could never erase. Success brought admiration, but it did not always bring peace. In many ways, her life encouraged us to look beyond headlines and applause, recognizing the quiet struggles that often remained invisible to the world. Today, the title Queen of the Blues represents much more than a remarkable career. It symbolizes resilience, authenticity, and the lasting power of music to comfort, inspire, and unite people across generations. Whether listeners discover Dinah Washington through What a Difference a Day Makes, her timeless blues recordings, or the artists she influenced, they continue to encounter a voice that feels as honest and moving today as it did decades ago. Perhaps that is the greatest legacy any artist could hope to leave. Not simply to be remembered, but to remain present whenever a song touches someone's heart. If Dinah Washington's journey moved you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Which chapter of her remarkable life stayed with you the most? Share your reflections in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the untold stories behind legendary Black artists, consider subscribing so you never miss the next journey